as a Bird, The Story of Malala by Lina Maslo. For my husband and children, don't ask me what I did. Ask me what I did not do. I did not clip her wings, and that's all. Ziauddin Yousafzai, March 2014. When she was born, some people sighed and shook their heads. A girl, they whispered, what bad luck. But her father looked into her eyes and fell in love. Malala, he whispered, and named her after Malala of Maiwand, a Pashtun heroine whose fearless words gave courage and turned defeat into triumph. Malala's father ran a school for boys and girls. He took her tiny hand into his and led her through the halls. Malala would sit in classrooms filled with other children, and she would listen. And before she could really speak, she would wander into the empty rooms and teach. As Malala grew, she realized that women in Pakistan did not have the same rights as men. Women like her mother had to hide their faces. They were expected to marry young and have children. They could not be anyone they wanted to be when they grew up. Malala watched her brothers fly kites from the roof. She wanted to be free, like the kites. She wanted to fly. Malala said she would not follow those rules when she grew up, and while others around her would frown in disapproval, her father would smile and say, "That is my daughter." Malala will be free as a bird. And Malala did feel free, within the doors of her school, within the covers of a breathtaking book, within the patterned pages of calculus and chemistry. She loved participating in public speaking contests at school and would often win. Her father said, "You should be a politician." Malala laughed and shook her head. She would be a doctor. Her father said, "You could help create a society where any girl could become a doctor." But then a new enemy came to Pakistan. At first, the enemy hid within the radio. They told people what to do. They told the people that girls could no longer go to school. Then the enemy came out of hiding. They punished people who did not listen to them. They blew up schools for girls. The government sent an army to fight the enemy, and a war began. At night, Malala and her brothers hid in their parents' room as the two sides fired at each other. But during the day, Malala secretly went to school. Malala's father was not afraid. He spoke out and begged people to stand up to the enemy's demands. Malala watched her father's speeches. She said to herself, "Why don't you go and fight for girls' rights? Fight to make Pakistan a better place." Malala's mother said, "Speaking up is the only way things will get better." So Malala began to talk about the importance of schools for girls. "No one will stop me," she said. "I will get my education." But the enemy began to threaten Malala and her father. They told Malala's father, "Do not teach girls." They told Malala, "Do not talk about girls and education." One day, Malala's father told her she should stop speaking out because it was getting too dangerous. But Malala said, "This is now my calling. You were the one who said that if we believe in something greater than our lives, then our voices will only multiply." "I will protect your freedom, Malala," said her father. Carry on with your dreams. But then the day came when he could not protect her. For 7 days, Malala slept and dreamed. She awoke in a hospital. She was told that the enemy had tried to end her life, but she had survived. Malala was no longer in her beloved country of Pakistan. She was now in England, where girls are free to go to school and learn. But she knew that girls and boys in many countries could not. Some of the countries were too poor. Others were always at war. And still, others didn't think education was necessary, especially for girls. Malala would not keep silent. So she began to travel around the world and speak, to girls and boys, to teachers, to reporters, to leaders and presidents and queens, to anyone who would listen. "I speak not for myself, but for all girls and boys. I raise up my voice, not so that I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. Those who have fought for their right to live in peace, their right to be treated with dignity, their right to equality of opportunity, their right to be educated. One child, one teacher, one pen and one book can change the world. And Malala's father watched and said, "Look at her, don't you think? She's meant for the skies." When the whole world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful. Malala Yousafzai, September 27th, 2013. The end.